And to answer your question, Angela, no, I'm not an only child. I do have an older brother. He's 11 years older. Yes, with him, we saw a path there of going down drugs and all sorts of things, and drug-induced schizophrenia. So I got first-hand knowledge there of just seeing the devastating effects of a mental illness such as that, which was awful. And Danielle, I think that my exercise DVD might be of good use. It's a visual tool. It's very self-explanatory, and I guess that the routine of the exercise is to certainly help there. That brain and body link and connection there could do nothing but some positive good. And so maybe after the show we could be in touch there. But I get the frustration.
I would love that.
Tried everything. I absolutely advocate for physical activity being number one. A lot of great science and evidence to back that. But we might also talk off air later on, and I'll provide you with some more strategies to help with your particular situation. So, yes.
I would encourage everyone use the chat function to leave, make sure everyone has an email address where, everyone can keep in touch afterwards if necessary.
Okay. I see some comments here on the chat. I'm using my phone, so it's kind of hard to see everybody and then the chat. And then, I
don't have any idea what that's like.
I don't have a computer here at home. I just have a phone. But
I just want to.
I'm getting mixed signals on the ABA. Can you talk about that?
Now, I like to think of ABA as sort of like if you were walking into a shoe store. Not everyone is going to get or reap the benefits of ABA therapy. I understand the basics of how it can be harmful, and in some other cases can be absolutely the best thing. So not to send any mixed messages, but I do think that it does come down to, I think, the therapist or the specialist that would be facilitating the ABA therapy. Let's use a little bit of common sense. Just because ABA therapy has not worked for your loved one or individual doesn't mean that it's not going to work for other people. So I've seen some wonderful positive transformation and results as a result of ABA therapy. I've implemented a little bit of that in my program, along with what is known as operant conditioning, going back to something as simple as your reinforce and reward, or a positive disciplinary approach to a consequence. Not a punishment, although if we had to meet fire with fire in those very drastic and urgent situations, you've got to do it. As I say to families all the time, you don't get the gold without first facing the dragon. And those are different situations that we may talk about at a later date. But ABA therapy, don't entirely knock it until you've tried it. And if it hasn't worked for your child, that doesn't mean it's not going to for somebody else. As you women know, you go into a clothes store, you try on a dress and you think it looks fantastic, but it's not quite my size. I better find it in a different size, and then there it is. It fits me beautifully. So try looking for perhaps the right therapist or specialist that implements ABA and see how you go there.
I would agree. And we haven't used ABA. In fact, the only therapy we've used for our son is some talk therapy. But ABA, OT, CBT, that's cognitive brain therapy, all of these different therapies have their place. And it just is entirely dependent on the therapist you get, the facility you're at, what you want for your child. So in our case, we've been really working on helping our son use those things that he's really great at to strengthen the things that he struggles with. And, you know, we don't want to eliminate or necessarily change some of his difficulties, but we want him to be able to use them positively and to recognize, oh, I struggle changing from one task to another. Oh, when I expected this thing and this thing happened instead, it really blew up my world. And we want him to understand how those things affect him and how to cope with them. And, you know, those aren't the only therapies. ABA, OT, CBT, we have personally had wonderful experiences with equine therapy. And the connection that my son built with the horses that he got to handle and that he gets to handle again now really enhanced his confidence. And he actually became more in tune with himself and was able to better communicate with us what he was struggling with, so we could actually address some of the underlying issues of the behaviors we were seeing. We're seeing meltdowns that aren't really related to the thing that it looks like they're related to, but to something completely different. And the equine therapy helped us to be able to communicate with him better, to be able to get to the bottom of some of those things was really beautiful.
Yeah, I think that anything that is going to support a bit more of a healthier and positive approach in executive functioning skills is wonderful. So I do believe in any sort of therapy facilitated by someone that really connects and has a wonderful rapport with your loved one, whereby learning can be made fun. I think all therapies will work best if the person facilitating does have that, not just experience and qualifications, although they are important, but they absolutely have a wonderful way to connect with you as a family or as a parent and with your loved one. So I have a wonderful team here in Melbourne, Victoria, that range from everything from not just your psychology, but also in holistic, like kinesiology. And some I absolutely advocate for things like massage therapy, things like this. Speech and OT, sure, definitely. Physical, absolutely. I'm reading from Christine that yes, many children, or a lot of adults have survived ABA therapy as children and now saying that it was more harmful and only taught them how to mask their autistic traits. I just want to clarify something that everybody, every single day to some degree, does do a form of masking. Okay, so I know that out there in the autism community about the masking traits can be very harmful. I like to look at it as more of, well, there are some traits and behaviors and things that you would work very hard, I'm sure, towards management. As my parents used to say, well, you wouldn't take your loved one out into public if they were going to, you know, start playing with their private bits, or they were going to start doing all sorts of very inappropriate things out to other people that could cause a bit of awkwardness and harm. So it's not so much we're trying to necessarily mask autistic traits, although, you know, a little bit of masking is healthy and may bring you more success and opportunity towards things that might certainly push you further forward in the right direction. But we are working towards greater management and greater awareness, self-awareness, to be aware. Well, one example, I used to, as a child, could not break away from continuously flapping my hands and flicking them in front of my face and blinking my eyes repeatedly and making all sorts of different sound effects with my mouth. That could go on for 15, 20 to 30 minutes at a time. And the whole day would get taken up by just these continuous bouts of loop type behavior. And, you know, I used to sometimes, you know, afterwards think, well, yes, that feels really good, but is this all I've amounted to? Is this all I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life? And if I didn't seek the support early and receive the early intervention and do all the things that I had to do, and that was including sometimes you have to, you do your very best out in a public situation to try to get on top of those things, I knew that I wasn't going to be very successful. I wasn't going to be able to perhaps make the best of friends or connect with people that I'd really like to connect with, all because I'm, continuously being controlled by these behaviors and traits, which, although they may feel fantastic and keep me very calm.
Job interviews.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be here today and operating and facilitating and running a team in a business, Eric, if I was still stuck in that particular phase of my life.
Yep.
So I'm here to advocate from a lived experience, as well as someone who's done all the study and research as well. So I commend you, Kendra, keep doing your study. That's fantastic. That it's very possible that we can overcome, we can work towards minimizing some of these traits and behaviors, which, although helpful for some, if excessively done frequently at a high volume, it is a bit unhealthy and can be very harmful. So yes, and Christine, how was I able to stop flapping? We could run a whole show just how I did that. But it is possible to be able to redirect or to resist the urge and impulse of doing those sorts of behaviors and putting them towards more productive things.